You assume that thoughts merely describe what already exists, that they are silent reflections of an independent world. Thinking feels like observation, not creation. Yet Ibn Arabi questioned this belief. He said thought is not passive. It is the act by which existence takes form within awareness. To think is to give reality a specific shape. Every idea you hold alters the way being discloses itself. In this view, each thought is not about creation, but an instance of it. The question, then, becomes unavoidable. If every thought gives rise to a world, who is the thinker, and what is the world that is thought? Does reality exist outside you, or does it unfold through you as awareness imagining itself into form? Ibn Arabi lived in 12th and 13th century Andalusia, a time when philosophy, theology, and mysticism met in the same inquiry. What is real? He proposed that being is one, endlessly expressing itself through infinite forms. Thought for him was among these forms, a mode of divine self-disclosure. He called imagination the theater of existence itself, where the unseen becomes known. Creation was not a single event, but an ongoing revelation within consciousness. To think, therefore, was to participate in the continuous act of divine imagination. Yet this raises a crucial question. If every thought creates, how can one distinguish truth from illusion? You tend to treat your thoughts as statements of fact. I know this. I believe that. I am certain. Each thought feels like a report on what already is. Yet the act of thinking always reshapes what it addresses. The moment you form a judgment, the thing judged changes its meaning. You never observe reality as it is. You see it through the framework your thinking imposes. Ibn Arabi would ask, if perception is always filtered through creation, where does knowing end and making begin? Perhaps what you call understanding is not discovery at all, but the world taking shape in the only form your mind can sustain. Ibn Arabi described reality as one being reflecting itself through countless perspectives. There is no absolute division between thinker and world. Thought itself is a reflection, existence recognizing itself under a particular limitation. What you experience as my thinking is the universal act of awareness taking a temporary form. The mind is not outside of being. It is the mirror through which being becomes self-aware. In that sense, thought is divine participation. The world is not separate from the one who perceives it. Every thought is the same act of being appearing as both thinker and thought. You say, my thought, my idea, my imagination. The language feels natural, but it assumes separation, as though thoughts originate within a private mind. Ibn Arabi denied this assumption. He saw the human intellect as a site of manifestation, not creation in isolation. To claim authorship over thought is to mistake participation for control. If awareness is one, there can be no private source of ideas. The phrase, my thought, is already false. It belongs to no one. Thought arises, unfolds, and disappears, not in you, but through you, as being momentarily recognizing itself. For Ibn Arabi, creation takes form through naming. When consciousness says, this is that, it gives distinction to what was undivided. To name something is to assign a boundary, and that boundary brings it into apparent existence. Tree, sky, self. Each word defines and limits, turning infinite being into finite form. The mind, through naming, shapes the way reality discloses itself. But naming also hides the unity beneath distinctions. The more concepts multiply, the more unity seems to vanish. Ibn Arabi asked whether understanding the act of naming can undo its illusion, whether recognition can restore the one beneath the many. If thought creates form, then each distinction, good and bad, self and other, God and world, is a creative division. To think, I, is to imagine, not I. Ibn Arabi saw this as the necessary paradox of manifestation. The one becomes many so that it may be known. Duality is not a flaw but a condition of disclosure. Yet it carries a hidden danger, forgetting that separation is only apparent. When thought identifies with its own creations, unity seems lost. The world appears divided, not because being has fractured, but because awareness has mistaken its reflection for something independent. If every thought shapes what you perceive, then your inner life is not private but participatory. Each judgment, belief, and assumption contributes to the unfolding of existence. Ibn Arabi taught that awareness without understanding multiplies confusion, but awareness with understanding aligns creation with harmony. You cannot stop thinking, but you can recognize what thought does. Every idea invites a world into appearance. Every belief defines what being becomes through you. The question is no longer whether you create, you do. The question is what kind of reality your thinking allows the one to experience within itself. You begin to see that thought cannot reach final certainty. Every answer produces another form, another world. Thinking is endless movement, creation seeking to know itself. Ibn Arabi said that only when the mind becomes silent does creation rest in recognition. Silence, for him, was not emptiness but return, thought realizing it was never separate from being. When the thinker stops claiming, the act of thinking continues, but is transparency, not ownership. Creation flows, yet nothing is done. Awareness sees itself creating and ceases to divide the act from the actor. You began believing that thoughts describe the world. You end seeing that they participate in its making. Ibn Arabi's wisdom reveals that thought is not commentary but creation, not yours, but the divine's own movement through consciousness. Every idea, judgment, and concept is being shaping itself to be known. The thinker is not the origin, but the mirror of this infinite process. To understand this is to rest, not to stop thinking, but to see thinking as transparent to unity. The act of thought and the reality it names are one event. What remains is simple clarity. Creation is not something happening around you or within you. It is what you are, awareness forming itself into understanding.